We're beginning the second Farbrengen in the second Likut, in Likkutei Dibburim Chelik Aleph, where the Frierdiker Rebbe is going to Farbring or Lechaf kislev. Previous Farbring was our Liyutas kislev, and the Frierdiker Rebbe records this and says, in the beginning, Amar Echad, one person turned and said to the Frierdiker Rebbe that the Baal Shem Tov was born close to the time of the Mesiras Nefesh, the self-sacrifice of Yidden, throughout the Gzeiros, the decrees of Tach V'Tat, which was when the Bogdan Chmelnytsky in Mach Shemoy, he swept through Poland, Ukraine, with a mob of peasants, and Rahman Son wiped out Kehillas. It's the years of 1648, 1649. And says the Frierdiker Rebbe in response that from those Gzeiros, the Baal Shem Tov was born was a shtik mahalach, a rechter mahalach, a walk. And he said we're talking about 40, 50 years. Says the Frierdiker Rebbe, the Baal Shem Tov was born Chai Elul Tov Nun Ches, Chai Elul 1698. And he says the simon, the way to remember this is the year of Nachas, being brought pleasantness to the Eibishter. And he's going to bring this source. He says you should know that in the famous letters from the Gniza Chersonis, this was a Gniza that was found in Cherson. This is be'etzem a whole bunch of manuscripts that were confiscated from the Ruziner, the Heilige Ruziner. It's actually, they copied it, the students copied it, therefore there may be some mistakes. They were quickly copying it over, and that's what the government took away and archived. And over there, which we found, there's a letter that the Baal Shem Tov penned to Rabbi Yaakov Yosef HaKohen of Pulna, the Rav of Pulna, the Baal told us Yaakov Yosef, from the date Gimel, the Tuesday Miketz Tavkov Shud Gimel. And over there, he fulfills his promise that he's going to reveal to Rabbi Yaakov Yosef, his faithful student, which day and which year his teacher, Achi Ashiloni, was revealed to him. Achi Ashiloni Be'etzem was from Yotzei Mitzrayim, and then he was from the Beis Din of David HaMelech, and he was the teacher of Eliyahu Hanavi, and the Baal Shem Tov was Zeicha that he taught him Torah. And he was the one that urged the Baal Shem Tov to be in his gala. So as we'll see, the Baal Shem Tov writes to Rabbi Yaakov Yosef Pilna with the following inscription. He says that when I have completed 26 years, to the date of my birth, which was Chayel Tov Pei Dalid in the city of Akup, it was Chatzos Alayla, midnight, and was revealed. He revealed himself to me, Achi Ashiloni. Our first learning was in Parshas Bereshis, and we went through the entire Torah till Le'eni Kol Yisrael, the end of Sefer Dvarim. I was 36 years old when I was revealed. That means for 10 years he learned with Achi Ashiloni. He was 26 when he started learning with Achi Ashiloni. He was 36 when 10 years later he was urged by Achi Ashiloni to be revealed. And this is all dating back to, he was 26 in Taf Pei Dalid because he was born Taf Non Ches, as the Frierdiker Rebbe prefaced. Now, according to this, as the Frierdiker Rebbe, on Chayel Taf Pei Dalid, Marina Baal Shem Tov was 26 years old, hence he was born Taf Non Ches Chayel, and his Isgalus, according to that letter, was on Chayel Taf Tzadik Dalid. And throughout all the letters that we have, say from Reb Adam Baal Shem, which was Rabbi Baal Shem of Rapshitz, he was the Talmud of Rabbi Yoel Baal Shem of Zamoch, and the teacher of the Baal Shem Tov, as explained elsewhere in the Kavod Zatam and the Frierdiker Rebbe brings. We find that throughout 3 years, Taf Tzadik Aleph through Taf Tzadik Gimel, we find in the letters that Rabbi Baal Shem was writing to the Baal Shem Tov, Divrei Torah, Biurim Amari Zayar, Tikkunim, and Divrei Torah, that the Baal Shem Tov, he did not agree. He opposed being revealed, and Rabbi Baal Shem told him, and he notified him that everybody decided that he has to be revealed. And you see this also in the letter the Baal Shem Tov wrote to his brother-in-law Reb Gershon Kitover, and there's also clear that the Baal Shem Tov was revealed in the year Taf Tzadik Daled. So the kids are from 3 different sources. We have this substantiated that the Baal Shem Tov was born Taf Nun Ches, and he was revealed Taf Tzadik Daled when he was 36 years old. Now the Frierdiker Rebbe Zok the Gor Al Chasidim, the real old Chassidim, they told over, recounted in the name of Reb Mendel of Vitebsk, because Reb Mendel Haradoker, that heard me Pikachoi of the Mezritcher Magid, that the year Taf Nun Ches, the Simon the symbol, the way to remember it, is symbolized and symbolic in two words that both express the essence of the Baal Shem Tov's birth. It's nachas and chason. What does that mean? What's the significance of that? And in that year, the Baal Shem Tov was born. Chad mishmei shmaya nachas. From the heaven of heavens, one came down. Nachas means comes down. And shezeu chason. That is the meaning of the word chason, which means in Aramaic nechois darga, lowering its level. However, through this, nasa nachas ruach lamata, he created a tremendous uplifting of spirit and delight in spirit for all those down here, because nachas ruach hadasha ba'olam, a new spirit came to this world. Kolaymar, the new way of serving the Eibishter, which also creates a tremendous aroma and delight l'mayla. Says the Friedrich Rebbe, I have heard from the Chassid of Chanoich Hendel, which Friedrich Rebbe spoke of in the previous Likut. Chanoich Hendel Kugel was a mashpia in Lubavitch, a Chassid Rebbe Marash, and he passed away Tafresh Gimel. He heard from Reb Ziskin Kuranitzer that he said in the name of his teacher, Reb Zalman Zezmer, which is a powerful Chassid, the greatest Chassid of the Alter Rebbe and of the Mittler Rebbe. He was a Rav in Denberg and Krislavia. And Reb Zalman Zezmer said that the Baal Shem Tov is Geboren and was revealed specifically in a Medina which was soaked with Jewish Mesiras Nefesh blood, which was in Ukraine. Akop is in Ukraine. When my father read, now the Friedrich Rebbe is talking again about the Rebbe Rashab, when he read this letter that the Baal Shem Tov penned to Rabbi Yaakov Yosef of Polna, which was found in Gnizach Chesanis. So when he read this letter of the Baal Shem Tov to Rabbi Yaakov Yosef, my father told me the following. He said, how will this be aligned with what is Mekubal, Rebbe Pi Rebbe, what we have accepted from generation to generation, that the duration of the lifetime of the Baal Shem Tov in this world was 72 years, and not 62 years, from Nachas until Taf Kuf Chaf. He says, rather the 10 years, we're not sure if they were Shnois HaGilui, which means they were actually years that he lived, or those 10 years were years of Milui, which means they were doubled over because those are the amount of years that he learned with Moira Baal Shem Tov, and so to speak, each year was worth 2 years, each year. Now, my father used to say, he couldn't stand, that they would say over a story not with the exact details and the exact nuances. And Befrat, a very wondrous story, it bothered him tremendously. And he would say that Torah was given in Sinai, on the Mount Sinai, b'makom b'zman, in a specific place and a specific time. And the kavanah, the intent, why the Eibishter placed this in this gashmistic realm of time and space, is that through avodah, in zman hamakom, one should be able to grasp what's hot and internalize things that are higher than zman hamakom. And this is the shari oira, the gates of light that were opened by the event of Har Sinai. And this is the inyan of Torah mitzvahs, that they are fulfilled specifically within the realm of time and space. But through them, one will be able to tap into what's higher than time and space, and higher than the limitations of time and space. And he says, just like, for example, putting on tefillin has a specific time, a specific place, but they are kalim, they're vessels to drawing into this world and connecting ourselves with something that's higher than time and space, that transcends limitation. One person said to the Friedrich Rebbe this Farbrengen that it's accepted by people in Volyn, which is a place in Ukraine, that the Baal Shem Tov was nostalgic on Wednesday, in the weekdays, and your siman was b'yom shenitlo ha'ma'oros, and the days that the great luminaries were hung. Now the truth is, nitlo ha'ma'oros is with a tes, but they're both oisius that are said with a tongue, and therefore it's mischalef with a tuf. Tuf really means it was taken. So he says, b'yom revi nitlo ha'ma'oros, on the Wednesday, the oir, so to speak, the luminary, referring to the Baal Shem Tov, was taken. And according to this expression, it's clear that the stalkus of the Baal Shem Tov was on the first day of Chag HaShavuos, because in Tov Kuf Chav, the year he passed away, Shavuos was on Wednesday and Thursday. The Friedrich Rebbe says, now having heard this vart of Anshe Valin, of Nitla Ma'iris, I now understand the Pirush HaMilis, says the Friedrich Rebbe in turn to the one that said this at the Farbrengen, what Alter Rebbe said on the second day of his liberation, that it was on a Wednesday, and he again repeated that expression that this is the time that nitlu ha'ma'oris betes, that it was taken away, and also nitlu ha'ma'oris, it was hung. The ma'oris were then hung. Onward in Ois Yud Gimel, he's going to explain a fascinating. The Alter Rebbe brings the Vart of the Ramban that for 3 days, and there was light until the 4th day, until Wednesday of creation. At that point, the Eibusher, so to speak, nitlu ha'ma'oris, it was taken away, and this is pshat also here. We'll see it there when we get there. Ois Beis. Now the Frierdiker Rebbe is going to continue describing the beginning, the origins of the days of Chassidus, of the Baal Shem Tov's birth, and Chai Elul, and he's going to set the tone by describing his Sheva Brachas. Zok the Frierdiker Rebbe. It was Wednesday, Parshas Tavoi, Tafresh Nun Zayin. It was the middle of the Sheva Brachas of my wedding. The Frierdiker Rebbe got married on Yud Gimel Elul Tafresh Nun Zayin within a week of it, the week of his Yastas Tem Chetzmimim. Right? Yastas was Tezvav Elul Tafresh Nun Zayin. So on that day, I was honored with tremendous honored guests that they visited me personally. It's a group of elder Chassidim. The first one the Frierdiker Rebbe mentions was Reb David Tzvi Chaim, which was the Rav of Chernigov. It was from the Chassidim of the Reb Marash and the Reb Rashab. Passed away Tafresh Bevav. Then there was Reb Doiv Zev Wolf Koznetsov. Kozevnikov. He was a Rav in Yekaterinoslav, and he passed away Tafresh Samaches. And Reb Yaakov Mordechai Bespalov, which was a Rav in Poltava, also from the Chassidim of the Reb Marash and the Reb Rashab. There was Reb Lev Hoffman, which was a Makubal, and Reb Shalom Hillels, that's what they called him. His name was Reb Shalom HaKoyin Hominer from Yeshnikovich, and he Be'etzem was very, very close with Reb Hillel Paracher. That's why he was dubbed Reb Shalom Reb Hillels. Then there was Reb Osher Grossman, the famous Sheikh of Nikolaev, the Shuv of Nikolaev, and Reb Menachem Manish Mon's son. We know that he was a tremendous gvir. He lived in Peterburg. His father was already from the Chassidim and Middler Rebbe, and he continued this chain of being very wealthy and supportive. He lived there together with Reb Leib Sheinin in Peterburg. So, together with them, and many other Chassidim, they all came to visit the Frierdiker Rebbe, the young couple. Frierdiker Rebbe was then 17 years old. He was born Tafresh Mem, Tafresh Nun Zayin. And when he was married, newlywed, in his Sheva Brachas, the Frierdiker Rebbe says, my room was a very small one. So we went to the backyard, so to speak, garden behind our house, and there was a table and benches, and we all sat together, and they started talking about Chassidus, Inyanim and Chassidus, and Minhagi Chassidim. And then Reb Menachem Manish Mon's son, he started recounting that when I was young, I heard from my Malamed Reb Gedalia, there was a tremendous Zaken, very, very old man. And he still remembered when Alter Rebbe came for the first time to Shklov. The Alter Rebbe eliminated a whole bunch of questions that people had on Darkei Chassidus. And he remembered Visis Gevarin, the Erste Chassid in Shklov, how the first Chassid formed in Shklov. What happened was he came and said that he was just in Mezrich. This is still in the lifetime of the Mezritcher Maggid. This Chassid came back and said he was in Mezrich, and he himself saw the Maggid, and he said he's a tremendous landon in Yerushalayim, and it's a lie what the Vilna Shluchim that would come around and spew Shkarim, it's a lie that they were describing about him and his Talmidim. Reb Gedalia, says Reb Menachem Manish Mon's son, told me that once they would even hold Chai Elul, which is the birthday of the Baal Shem Tov, as a Yom Tov. The Baal Shem Tov was born on Chai Elul. So this also substantiated, and this is also a little bit of the context why the Frierdiker Rebbe started mentioning this. Says the Frierdiker Rebbe weiter. At that point, spoke up Reb Shalom Reb Hillels, which was a Misharas by Reb Hillel Parcher, and he said, my Rebbe Reb Hillel once recounted, that he heard from Gute Yidden, which is an expression for a Polish Rebbe, Reb Motla Chernobler, that his father, and the Frierdiker says his kavanah is about Hoyd Kvoid Kedushas Admar, Rabbi Kadosh Reb Nachum Chernobler, that the Baal Shem Tov was born on Chai Elul on 3 realms: Begufay, with his body; Benafshay, with his soul; Uberucha, and his spirit. What does this mean? So he explained. Begufay, he was born in a guf, in the year Nachas. Benafshay, when he was 26, Chai Elul, he was in his Galatim, Moider v'Rabbi. And in his spirit, that means when he was referring to when he was 36, then he was in his Gala. His spirit, so to speak, started spreading between Am Yisrael. These 3 times all took place on Chai Elul. Ich, says Reb Hillel to his student and his Misharas, Reb Shalom, Reb Hillel's, I would be Kovea Chai Elul as a Yom Mishta v'Simcha, as a day of feast and celebration. However, to be Kovea Yom Tov, that has to be done through a Rebbe. And why they weren't Kovea this day as a Yom Tov, my understanding is because Keser is not Nimna Bein HaSfiris. Sfiris is part of the Ishtalshalos that are distilled into our world. But Keser, so to speak, referring to the crown that stands above the Sfiris, and that's not what we can hold on to and celebrate and connect with. It means it's above the realm. The Frierdiker Rebbe is now going to move on in Ois Gimel to explain how Rabbi Seinu Neseinu did bring down these makifim that we should be able to digest it. And this was recounted by another chassid that was by the Frierdiker Rebbe's Sheva Brachas, and he started telling the story of the Rebbe Rashab's Sheva Brachas, dating back to Yud Aleph Elul Tafresh Lamed Hey. So a chassid Reb Dov Zev, we said Reb Dov Zev Kozevnikov, the Rav of Yekaterinslav. So he said that in the days of Sheva Brachas of the Rebbe Rashab, which was Elul Tafresh Lamed Hey, the Rebbe Maharash said. Now, it's important to note, the Rebbe Maharash was not by the Rebbe Rashab's Sheva Brachas. He wanted the Sheva Brachas to take place by him. Lamaisa, the Chasna took place in Orvuch, and the Rebbe Maharash went part way, but Mitzad Sibas Briuzis didn't go, and he really wanted the Shabbos Sheva Brachas to be by him in Lubavitch, but they left late and didn't make it back. Still, that Shabbos was a very Ufgahibin Shabbos, and that's what they're going to describe, how the Rebbe Maharash celebrated this Shabbos Sheva Brachas in Lubavitch. So he says, the Rebbe Maharash said that before Shabbos Sheva Brachas, he said that Gimel Yamim Koydem HaShabbos, 3 days before Shabbos, is Achana, it's preparation for Shabbos. Of Shabbos, it says in Zoyar, the name is Baruch Kulu Yamin. From it takes the all the days of the week, they are yonik their blessing. All the days is referring to all the 6 days of the week, the 6 weekdays. And for this, the Eibishter gave a bracha klolis, a general bracha. The Eibishter gave a bracha in everything you do. The bracha, Birkas HaShabbos, it affects before Shabbos and after Shabbos. It means it's not Shabbos that draws down the bracha for the entire week. Rather, Shabbos brings bracha into the days before it, as we'll see from Wednesday and on, until the next Tuesday, and then Wednesday is already shach to the next week. So Birkas HaShabbos milfanam v'lachrav, it brings before and after. The Achana to Shabbos is miyom daled from Wednesday, and the unzug, so to speak, the directive where Shabbos begins is the small Chunarana that we say in Shir Shel Yom, that Levim Hayoim Beis HaMikdash. And these are just 3 psukim. That's why it's called a small Chunarana. The Rebbe, says Reb Dov Zev Kozevnikov, was very, very ufgelegt. He was in high spirits, and the Suda was in the garden. The Oilam was very big, there was a packed house, and the Rebbe was very freilach. His beauty was the alamal outstanding of the Rebbe Maharash. But then it shined. The Shechina rested, dwelt upon his holy face, and he said with panim tzehuvos, with like a lightened face, it means yellow face, but it means a shining face, with the following lashon. He said, "Was die gimel psukim zayin be'emes lamitasen?" These 3 psukim, what they really entail. So darf men herin on meheret b'chsidus b'chlals. You have to really connect with it and hear it, and this is taken through chsidus in general. And not only in general, it explains their darga. This is what the Levim are saying in the Beis HaMikdash. It's in pratius also. It's nagia to everybody based on their level of their neshama and their inyana, and it's inyan and avoida. So it's biyachidus. Each person has it's relevant to him, how he has to take Shabbos. But still, as we're going to see, the Rebbe Marash is going to explain a way that this is across the board for everybody. He says, now is a time of Simcha Le'ela. Above it's a Simcha by the Zaydis, by our grandparents, and their Rebbeim, all the way up to the Eibishter and the Shechina. And it's also Simcha Lamata. And therefore, because it's a Simcha across the board, I'm going to explain the Psukim the way it is Alpi Midam Mutzas across the board. He says, Mitvach, on Wednesday, when you start thinking about Vumvet Menemen of Shabbos, from what are you going to take to experience Shabbos? What are we mustering up? Our Koiches Beruchnis. Heim Bepshitas, which means Bepashtas, that's the way it's written, what to put on the table. And Heim Midvasat and Shabbos, and also what are we going to really connect with the spirituality, the Ruchnis of Shabbos. Yeah, the Yid is Doch Shabbos Goran Under. Every Yid Shabbos is a different person. So he's thinking, how am I transforming? Where's this transformation coming from without me bringing something to the table? And therefore, person gets saddened. What am I bringing? Is the Eitzah. Therefore, the Chazal implanted in Shishal Yem L'chunen Ranana. What are we singing about? Let's go and sing before the Eibishter. It's B'tochen. As it's Kum Donnershtik. So on Wednesday you have this B'tochen that is going to be great. We're gonna be on par. When it becomes Nentetz or Shabbos on Thursday and it's Nachalz Nishta, there's still not what you really need. So then it's not if you don't have what to celebrate with. So we understand that you have to do something. It's not enough just to rely on B'tochen. And if we sit Thursday night and you learn Chassidus like Chassidim did, then Freitag you taked their hair in Shir Shal Yom, their Melech Gadol Chulu. Their hair, the type of great king the Eibishter is, and their hair, the Kel Gadol, and the Melech Gadol were kind of great Eibishter and great king. Medem Shabbos Dayid. With this, a person could come to Shabbos. The Rebbe Marash continued, and he spoke about that upcoming Shabbos Parshas Tov Chai Elul, and this is also this is part of the context. Friedrich Rebbe brought it in, and he says this Shabbos is a great Shabbos, Shabbos HaGadol. It's the day that the Baal Shem Tov was born. The Tata, referring to the Tzemach Tzedek, told me that the Hardaker Chassidim, Rav Mendel Hardaker, used to say in the name of Rabbi Kodesh or Menachem Mendel Zecher Tzaddik V'Kodesh Baruch Hu Chayil Mabah, Aribu Maisis, different stories that they heard from him, that he used to repeat that he was makabel about the Baal Shem Tov before the Baal Shem Tov was revealed, and in the way he was revealed, and the way he gathered the Talmidim, and everything, his students and disseminated Chassidus, and everything that transpired in the Baal Shem Tov's life. When this is all being told by Rav Zev Dov Kozevnikov, the Rav of Yekaterinslav, by the Friedrich Rebbe as Sheva Brachas, and he's describing the Rebbe Rashab's Sheva Brachas in Lubavitch, the way the Rebbe Marash was going about it and was preparing them for Shabbos. And he was saying about it was the middle of the week of the Sheva Brachas, but he was saying about that Shabbos Sheva Brachas. The Rebbe Masayim given. The Rebbe Marash concluded and said that he had asked to announce that all those that are able to sing should sing the Nigin that he suggested, and they should sing it abgezogen, they should sing it slowly and alle gleich. Rebbe Marash said everyone should sing it together in unison. 3 times they should repeat that Nigin that he was referring to, and in order that everybody should sing it in the same mamish, all the tenuas together, he called upon Reb Ella Abeler. He was called Vira Baitzik, and Reb Tzadok Hamlier, his last name was Nechamkin. He said they should stand in a higher place and they should guide with their finger the tone, so everyone sings together. After they concluded singing the Nigin, the way the Rebbe Marash wanted, slowly and together, the Rebbe Marash said the Drush al kol kvoid chuppah, and he explained that kvoid and chuppah are both symbolic of makifim. There are 2 levels in makifim, things, levels that hover over, that are not internalized. And in makifim, there's makif hakarev, there's the closer, so to speak, makif, and the farther makif. And all of a sudden, the Rebbe Marash turned and said, in the middle of the river, he said, "B'kol ne'ima," in a sweet voice. He said, Makif HaKorov is the Zaydis, our grandparents, referring to obviously the Mittler Rebbe and the Alter Rebbe. Makif HaRochoik, the farther Makif, is the Maggid and the Baal Shem Tov. The Reb Dov Zev continued describing, and he said the Simcha, what we had Chassidim then when he described that these are the dargahs that are taking place, and the Shabbos is going to be Chayelu, and the way we prepare for Shabbos, etc. He said you can't describe it; it's undescribable. You can't pen it. The Rebbe right away said more Chassidus. Right after saying Chassidus, he is gegangen in a Likut for a little while. The Rebbe Marash danced, and then went up the steps from the garden where they were sitting. Evidently, the Rebbe Marash and his Chassidim to an achsadra. It seems like he had like a porch, which is like a corridor that connected to the back of the room, the Rebbe Marash's room, which is in the back of his house. And he sat near the window and watched how we Chassidim danced in the backyard in the garden. They danced. He says, send like tens of circles of Chassidim. The Razah and the Razah and his brother-in-law, Reb Moshe Leib. His Reb Moshe Arya Ginsburg from Vitebsk. He was a brother-in-law of the Rebbe Rashab of the Razah, a son-in-law by the Rebbe Marash. They stood near him, and they said afterwards that the Rebbe said, "Cooked kinder." He referred to them and said, "Listen, look, watch my children. Chassidim freuen sich. Simcha shel mitzvah. Look how Chassidim are rejoicing Simcha shel mitzvah on Azoivel nidin tanzen in the Gassen as Mashiach wird kommen." This is the way Chassidim will dance in the streets when Mashiach comes. This is all before Shabbos. The Rebbe Marash is describing what's gonna take place this Shabbos. And he's prepping them. Now, Zok Dov Zev Kozevnikov on Shabbos Kodesh Chayelul. It was a cloudy day. Kiddush was in the Groise Zal. The big Zal was the place where the Tzemach Tzedek, that was his Dira in Lubavitch, and he commanded afterwards. He built a big room. Asara Klapter was called the Groise Zal, after which that ultimately became the Zal of Tomchatz Mimin. And that's where the Kiddush was, where the Rebbe Marash made the Kiddush. And in time of the Kiddush, the Rebbe Marash said, the Baal Shem Tov was born on Chayel. The Baal Shem Tov with Chassidus, at Uvgiton, he accomplished a tremendous chayas in the Avodah of Anilu Doidi V'Doidi Li. And it's symbolic of Chay Elul. It's not just the 18th day, but it consists of the word Chay. He brought chayas into Elul. And he's soon going to explain how Elul Batsim could be a melancholy month, a Chodesh HaCheshbon, and he revived it. The Baal Shem Tov and the Alter Rebbe brought in a tremendous chayis and eliminated a certain wrong type of Marash Chayro. Nachdem, he said Chassidus, Anila Doidi Doidi Li, that it's Rosh Tevis Elul, and Seifet Tevis of Elul, of Anila Doidi Doidi Li, are 4 Yuds that are B'gematria Mem, 40, that are connected, that it's equivalent to the 40 days of Moshe Rabbeinu went up to be Makabel the Torah. After the Chassidus, the Rebbe Marash said, again, this is in the Groise Zal, Shabbos Chayel, that the Shabbat Brachas, Lamed Hey. After the Chassidus, they sang Nigunim, and the Marash said that the Likut b'mochel, dancing in a circle, and he's referring to a specific, it seems like it's like a karahod, a type of circle that Chassidim were noig to dance, that was nischadish in the days of the Baal Shem Tov. And he explained what is the premise of why this was nischadish. He says, mochel is makif. Going back to what he started describing, mochel, a circle, is makif. It means it doesn't go in, it doesn't internalize, it stays hovering, so to speak, around, it doesn't come inside. The first gilui, mozaina makif. When, so to speak, there's revelation, it first has to come down in a superficial way, and afterwards it's brought down deeper. So he says, initially, it doesn't come down in vessels in general, and kolshke not in an internal, digested way in our personal life. The Zayda, the Alter Rebbe, Rabbeinu Agadol, with his Mesiras Nefesh for Chassidus, and for Chassidim, he brought down that this makif, this, so to speak, hovering over, should come down in an internal and a primistic way. And he made kelim to primis. Not only he brought the Torah down to us, primis Torah, but also created by us vessels to be able to help us. Now, when Chassidim dance in a machal, So it's not the same machal, it's not the same circle that it was in the time of the Baal Shem Tov, which was makif. Now that we're after the time of the Alter Rebbe, it's oiris bekeilim. And it's our makif is shayr aleim, but this makif has an effect also in an eternal way. The Rebbe went to himself, that means went to his own quarters, and the Olam went out of the big Zal, and Madgitan Sedlik Redlach. Again, they started dancing. There were tens of circles of Siddim dancing, similar to earlier in the week. By Suda Shabbos Kodesh, the Rebbe Marash said, the Baal Shem Tov opened Shari Pnimis HaTorah. He opened the gates of Pnimis HaTorah. The Alter Rebbe opened Shari Chabad, which is Chachma Ben Adas, which is the beginning of internalizing. The Itztige Chai Elul, the Pirush of Elul, Alein Hat Abgelept. The Elul itself is alive. That's the interpretation now in today's day, says the Rebbe Marash of Chai Elul. The Elul itself is alive. Amal, when Elul would come, Flekta Rufal, it would fall upon everybody a Marash Chayra, sadness. Everyone would be Farvolken and Flagen sich Farvolken and get all cloudy. The Alter Rebbe was Mamshech Achayis in Pnimius, Achayis internally, and he chased away the Makifim Dike Atzvos. There's an Atzvos that comes from the fact that something is removed and you can't grasp it. Now that they're able to grasp it, the Alter Rebbe dispelled this Atzvos, and he brought in that when a person sees how they're hoping, it doesn't feel totally close, but now it's a merirus, it's a bitterness. You could do something about it, you could get closer because it's attainable. The Alter Rebbe, this still is all being told by Reb Dov Zev Kozavnikov. He said what he heard from the Rebbe Marash. Heipt on Tzureden, the Rebbe Marash said, he starts talking, referring to the Alter Rebbe and Tanya, he starts talking about a tzaddik and a rasha. Asks Shilas on the rasha, Balti rasha b'fnei atzmacha, v'gam yenim bein of karasha. And the Rebbe Marash questioned this. He said, L'chura, you should have started talking about a tzaddik. Talk about who you want to discuss, or what's the goal, the objective every yid has. Now the Seder Bali Makifim, he says initially those that are Makif, they talk about the limitations, they talk about the edges, Bali Ktzavis. And therefore it makes sense that Otis men a tzaddik, and Otis chas v'shalom recht, tzazagin chas v'shalom rasha. You look at a tzaddik and you say, are you like this or you're a rasha? Because it's not Beis Yashvos, it's not exactly where you're holding step by step. However, in a Pnimi, when a person's internally going from level to level, so it's not shaykh to mix in different extremes. A Pnimi is Mesuda, he doesn't jump from one extreme to another. B'meila, Amol's Gekumen Chodesh Elul is Amol. As once upon a time when Chodesh Elul came, and a person has to become frimer, he has to become more frum, so it became a Marash Chayra, because that was Ma'oyer himself to jump to the other extreme, because they were makiftik, like we said before the Alter Rebbe came around, and they referred to themselves as Rishayim, they had to become. But Mela, that caused a tremendous atzvos, and heaviness and sadness. And in Chodesh Elul, it laid upon everybody, as he mentioned, a tremendous cloud. The Baal Shem Tov brought in a chayis and avoida, and the Alter Rebbe, he illuminated the derech Baal Shem Tov and chased away this farshmoltz and a Marash Chayra, sounds like welded in or waxed in Marash Chayra and Atzvos, that was affiliated and synonymous with Elul, and he brought it to that a tzaddik should also be able to do tshuva. That means within the world of a tzaddik, you don't have to jump and see yourself as a rasha. A tzaddik also has to do tshuva. He showed that everybody has an nefesh and where they're at, they have to inch their way up, but not jump to extremes. The chassidus that the Alter Rebbe and Rabbi Machrov gave us is a gili of Mashiach. And over there we'll find, he was mevar what it says about Mashiach, asalas but tzaddikai betiyufta. He takes even tzaddikim and brings them back to tshuva. And then he said a drush, oz tismach psula b'machal. Then the psula will be samech b'machal in a circle, because again, referring to the story of the story that Rav Zev Dov Kozavnikov was describing, the Indian of Makif, the Machal, that the Rebbe, that there was Nischadish in the days of the Baal Shem Tov, and now has a new meaning, this dance in a circle, etc. But he explained that Primus Inyanim.